The Champions League round of 16 is just around the corner, so it's time for my 5,000 IQ predictions. Starting off with Galatasaray vs Liverpool, which will be the first game of the round of 16. Galatasaray look quite strong in the Turkish league, currently in first place as of recording. And to be honest, Galatasaray did impress to some extent against Juventus. Their extra time magics helped them seal the victory. They have key players such as Davinson Sanchez, who obviously played for Tottenham in the past, Noah Lang, Lucas Torreira, and Victor Osimhen. Meanwhile, Liverpool, after a very expensive summer, I think that's the nicest way to put it, have been struggling to some extent recently in the Premier League. However, in the last 5 games, they've sort of turned it around. You know what? I'm going to say something outrageous. I'm predicting I think in the first leg, obviously the first leg is at Galatasaray Stadium, and I actually think at Galatasaray Stadium, Galatasaray are going to win maybe 3-1, and then in the second leg at Anfield, Galatasaray might actually pull off a crazy upset and win maybe like 5-3 or 5-4 in aggregate. Next up we have Newcastle versus Barcelona. Newcastle did struggle at the start of this season, however, they have regained form to some extent. As a Barcelona fan, I'm happy with this draw. We could have had either Newcastle or PSG. Obviously, we did play Newcastle earlier in the season where we comfortably won 2-1 at St James's Park. I know a 1 goal difference might not seem that comfortable, but they did score in the last few minutes of the game. I think this time around, the first leg at St James's Park, although we have some key players injured, such as Frankie de Jong, you know, Pedri's back, I think maybe in the first leg we can win like 3-1. Then in the second leg, maybe 3-2 for Barcelona. Unless you've been living under a rock, I'm pretty sure you know that Tottenham have been absolutely bonds this season. So the fact that they've gotten themselves to this point is quite respectable, to be fair. You know, they are 16th in the Premier League, though, 1 point off relegation, while Atletico Madrid are doing pretty well in the Liga, and they have just reached the Copa del Rey final. So I think this is a pretty easy one to predict, in my opinion. I think the first leg is in Madrid, where I do expect Atletico Madrid to win maybe 3-1, and then in the second leg maybe a 2-2 result in London. But ultimately, you know, I don't think it'll be that deep for Atletico Madrid.
The first leg on the Metropolitano, the second leg on the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. I think this is going to be a very exciting clash. For the first leg, I think it's going to be 3-1 for Atletico, and for the second in London, 1-1. So 4-2 overall. Sorry, Spurs, but like, you've been kind of poor until now. Look, I understand you've been like really impressing in the Champions League. I just don't understand how, but yeah, I guess the European competitions and the league are 2 different things.
Next up, Atalanta vs Bayern. Atalanta, what a game they played with Dortmund, you know, in the playoffs. Dortmund were obviously 2-0 up after the first leg, but Atalanta found a way to qualify for the round of 16, and they've been cursed with Bayern Munich. The only Serie A club is going to get knocked out in the round of 16. I'm sorry, I don't see, you know, Atalanta going through. I think in the first leg, maybe Bayern will win 3-1, maybe 4-1. And then in the second leg, maybe... I do feel Atalanta could give them an issue, but Bayern Munich are just too good. I think Bayern Munich will actually get to the finals this year. Maybe a 3-2 win for Bayern in the second leg. Arsenal-Leverkusen, same thing, to be honest. Arsenal first in the Premier League. Leverkusen are not that invincible side that they were, obviously, under Xabi Alonso. Nah, I think Arsenal in the first leg maybe 3-0, and in the second leg maybe a 2-2 draw. Maybe a 3-2 for Arsenal. PSG vs Chelsea is probably the second biggest fixture of this round of 16 list. Obviously, PSG recently haven't been the same team that they were last season. I mean, I think that's quite inevitable, but they're still a strong side. Meanwhile, Chelsea, yes, they are competing for European football currently in the Premier League. I don't think they have that competitive edge over PSG. I mean, yes, Chelsea have like chippy chips, Joao Pedro, they do have that attacking quality. I still think in the first leg, which is in Paris, PSG will win a comfortable, well, they didn't really beat Monaco comfortably, which is probably a bit, questionable. But I still think they can beat Chelsea maybe 4-2 in the first leg, and then 2-2 at Stamford Bridge in the second leg. Bodo Glimt versus Sporting is probably my favourite fixture, let's be honest. Bodo Glimt have done some miracles to get to this point. In 2026 they've beaten Atletico Madrid, Manchester City and now Inter Milan twice. There's levels to this game. Sporting did very well to finish in the top 8 of the Champions League. But if we're being completely honest, Sporting aren't even first in the Portuguese league. They're 4 points behind first place Porto. So that doesn't give me too much confidence that they're better than teams such as Inter Milan and Atletico Madrid, which, actually that's pretty obvious. I think, why not? Bodo Glimt, this could be just pure vibes. I think Bodo Glimt can do it. In the first leg, Bodo Glimt are playing at home, and I actually see them getting maybe a 2-1 win. No, sorry, a 2-0 win. The Portuguese players will struggle in the Norwegian cold. And then in the second leg, obviously, at Sporting, I think they can pull it off. Maybe a 2-2 draw for Bodo Glimt to actually advance to the quarterfinals. And then finally, Real Madrid versus Manchester City. This was inevitable. It happens every single year. Manchester City are pushing for the Premier League right now. They're applying a lot of pressure to Arsenal, and they're looking very consistent currently. Meanwhile, Real Madrid are looking really quite inconsistent with a coach who doesn't have much experience in the Champions League either. And obviously, if you compare that to Pep Guardiola's experience, you can't even compare that, to be honest. Maybe in that first leg at the Bernabeu, maybe Real Madrid will be able to pull off a 2-1 win. But then in the second leg at the Etihad, I think City can win 3-1 to help them advance to the quarterfinals.